Greetings, loved ones. Today we're going to talk about life-changing truths about survivors. Help us get these messages out. Subscribe to our channel. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Hit the like button and the notification bell, and please share these messages with others. You never know, just by doing so you could save a life. So today we're going to share with you 10 life-changing truths about abuse survivors that you should embrace. You don't have to justify to anyone the reasons why you didn't leave right away. The journey to healing from emotional or physical abuse requires us to revolutionize our thinking about relationships, self-love, self-respect, and self-compassion. Abusive relationships often serve as the catalyst for incredible change and have the potential to motivate us towards empowerment and strength should we take the advantage of the situation. So here are 10 life-changing truths abuse survivors should embrace in their journey to healing, though it may appear challenging to do so. Number 1, it was not your fault. Victim blaming is rampant both in society and even within the mental landscape of abuse survivors themselves. Recently, the victim blaming and the mythical ease of leaving an abusive relationship has been challenged in the public discourse. Accepting that the pathology of another person and the abuse he or she inflicted upon you is not under your control can be quite challenging when you've been told otherwise by the abuser, the public, and even by those close to you who don't know any better. Abuse survivors are used to being blamed for not being good enough, and the blame for the mistreatment they've suffered convinces them that they are not enough. The truth is, the abuser is the person who is not enough. Only a dysfunctional person would deliberately harm another. You, on the other hand, are enough. Unlike your abuser, you don't have to abuse anyone to feel superior or complete. You're already whole and perfect in your own imperfect ways. Number 2, your love cannot inspire the abuser to change. There was nothing you could have done differently to change the abuser. Repeat this to yourself. Nothing. Abusers have a distorted perspective of the world, and their interactions with people are intrinsically disordered. Pathological narcissists and sociopaths are disordered individuals who have specific manipulation tactics as well as behavioral traits that make them unhealthy relationship partners. Part of their disorder is that they feel superior and entitled. They are usually unwilling to get help, and they benefit from exploiting others. A lack of empathy enables these types of abusers to reap these benefits without much remorse. Giving your abuser more love and subjugating yourself to the abuser out of fear and out of the hope that he or she would change would have only enabled the abuser's power. You did the right thing, or you will, by stepping away and no longer allowing someone to treat you in such an inhumane manner. Number 3, healthy relationships are your birthright, and you can achieve them. It is your right to have a healthy, safe, and respectful relationship. It is your right to be free from bodily harm and psychological abuse. It is your right to be able to express your emotions without ridicule, stonewalling, or the threat of violence. It is your right not to walk on eggshells. It is your right to pursue people who are worthy of your time and energy. Never settle for less than someone who respects you and is considerate towards you. Every human being has these rights, and you do too. If you are someone who can respect others and are capable of empathy, you are not any less deserving than anyone else of a relationship that makes you happy. Number 4, there is still hope for a better life. Healing and recovery is a challenging process, but it's not an impossible one. The effects of trauma can be life-changing and undeniable, but a life after abuse is still possible. You may suffer for a long time from intrusive thoughts, flashbacks, and other symptoms because of the abuse. You may even enter other unhealthy relationships or re-enter the same one. This is not uncommon, as a large part of our behavior is driven by our subconscious, and such behavior is often part of the trauma repetition cycle. Still, I want you to know you are not damaged goods. You are not forever scarred, although there are scars that might remain. You are a victim of abuse. You are also a healer, a warrior, a survivor. You do have choices and agency. You can cut all contact with your ex-partner. You can seek counseling and a support group for survivors. You can create a stronger support network. You can read literature on abusive tactics, engage in better self-care, and you can have better relationships in the future. If you suspect you are the victim of emotional abuse, you can read about the manipulation tactics of emotionally abusive people and understand how pathological individuals operate so that you can protect yourself in the future. All hope is not lost. You can use this experience to gain new knowledge, resources, and networks. You can channel your crisis into transformation. 5. You do not have to justify to anyone the reasons you didn't leave right away. The fear, isolation, and manipulation that the abuser imposed upon us is legitimate and valid. Studies have proven that trauma can produce changes in the brain. If we experienced or witnessed abuse or bullying in our childhood, we can be subconsciously programmed to reenact our early childhood wounding. The trauma of an abusive relationship can also manifest itself in PTSD or acute stress disorder, regardless of whether we witnessed domestic violence as a child. Stockholm Syndrome is a syndrome that tethers survivors of trauma and abuse to their abusers to survive. This syndrome is created from what Dr. Patrick J. Carnes calls trauma bonds, which are bonds that are formed with another person during traumatic emotional experiences. These bonds can leave us paradoxically seeking support from the source of the abuse. Biochemical bonds can also form with our abuser through changing levels of oxytocin, dopamine, cortisol, serotonin, and adrenaline, which can spike during the highs and lows of the abuse cycle. The connection we have to the abuser is like an addiction to the vicious cycle of hot and cold, of sweet talk and apologies, of wounds and harsh words. Our sense of learned helplessness and overwhelming feeling that develops as we are unable to escape a dangerous situation is potent in an abusive relationship. So is our cognitive dissonance, the conflicting ideas and beliefs we may hold about who the abuser truly is versus who the abuser has shown himself to be. Due to the shame that we feel about the abuse, we might withdraw from our support network altogether, or be forced by our abuser not to interact with others. These reasons and more can all interfere with our motivation and means to leave the relationship. And you may have been financially dependent on your abuser, or feared physical or psychological retaliation in the form of slander. Therefore, you never have to justify to anyone why you did not leave right away, or blame yourself for not doing so. Someone else's invalidation should not take away your experience of fear, powerless, confusion, shame, numbing, and feelings of helplessness that occurred when and after the abuse took place. With 1 in 3 women experiencing domestic violence worldwide, and even more children witnessing the violence, the question is not if you'll encounter a victim of violence. The question before God is, what will you do when you do encounter them? You could be the person who saves a life. We are all called to be champions for justice. Those who suffer violence need to know that those who love them and those who don't even know them will step out and reach out to them to give them the courage to leave before it is too late. Help us get these messages out. Subscribe to our channel, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Hit the like button and the notification bell, and please share these messages with others. You never know, just by doing so, you could save a life. If you're a victim of violence, oh my gosh, listen to me. The truth is you are valued, you are loved, you are intelligent, you are beautiful, and God does not want you to suffer violence. He wants you to live free from violence in peace and tranquility. You're not alone. There is a way out. It's not your fault. Abuse is not love. If you are a victim of violence, reach out to someone today. If you find yourself in danger, call 911 for help. And if you know of a child suffering violence, tell the authorities. In our next episode, we will talk about the 5 truths abuse survivors should know. Until then, God bless you.